Hi, this is Michael Jones, Caravel Concepts Chairman and CEO. Welcome to Market Insights, our weekly video series where we look at the events of the week and try and extrapolate what they may mean for financial markets. Let's get started. The title of this week's Market Insights is The Art of the No Deal. If you remember last week's Market Insights, we expected the President and Congress to reach an agreement on a new COVID-19 stimulus package. We felt that the Democrats had all the cards to play and that they would negotiate a deal that was favorable to their constituencies. Well, what we forgot is that some people, when they're going to play a game they're almost certain to lose, they prefer not to play at all, and President Trump is kind of wired that way. He decided he wasn't going to negotiate when he didn't have enough cards to play and decided to try and achieve the political ends of a new COVID-19 package through executive orders. The problem we see with these executive orders is they're probably not going to achieve enough for the coming election. If you look at the jobless benefits that the president has approved through his executive orders, they approved $400, but $100 of that has to come from the states. The states have made it clear they don't have the money, so we're talking about a $300 enhanced unemployment benefit. That's down from $600. More importantly, the money for this enhanced benefit is coming from FEMA funds, and most analysts expect those funds to be exhausted by the end of September, maybe the first week of October. That leaves a month where people will not be getting enhanced unemployment benefits before the big presidential election. We're also concerned about the moratorium on evictions. It's not actually the hard moratorium that Congress passed and that expired on July 31st. Instead, what the president's order says is that federal agencies look at ways to encourage, persuade, and then always try and prevent evictions, but it's not a hard moratorium. That means, in our estimation, people will lose their homes between now and the election. And when you look at where the real vulnerability is, it's in a lot of swing states, especially Florida, that the president simply must capture to win elections. So, what does this mean for financial markets? So far, not much. The Fed has injected $3 trillion into financial markets. We were expecting another $2 trillion for a total of $5 trillion. The market has thus far been quite content with the $3 trillion already injected. Now, does that mean that it's over? We believe that by not putting that extra $2 trillion into financial markets, the President and Congress have made a pullback possible. Not probable, but now it is possible. And it's particularly possible given that we have gone a long time going up in a straight line since the lows of March. We are very overbought in financial markets. It could also be that a pullback could be prompted by the political consequences of not reaching a COVID-19 deal could get financial markets more worried about the possibility of a President Biden. That would mean higher corporate taxes. That would mean capital gains for people making over $1 million, potentially going from 24% to more than 40%. Investors could conclude that they'd like to take some gains now that they have them, and while capital gains are assured of being much lower than they could be next year. That could be the catalyst for a pullback. What would we do if such a pullback occurs? Well, look for some assets that we haven't yet invested in equities and put them to work. Because whether a COVID-19 stimulus package happens before the election or after the election, we believe another COVID package will have to be passed. And that means that there will be another big injection of liquidity from the Federal Reserve as they have to print the money to fund that stimulus spending. Therefore, investors should just buckle their chin straps, be ready for the volatility, and if you're not fully invested in preparation for the bubble, this could be an opportunity for you to put a few more assets to work. We have one more thing to cover. 2020 has been a very stressful year. We could see a market pullback that'll make things even more stressful. My wife and I have learned to cope by having little rituals, little joys to help offset the big concerns. And one of those is on Friday afternoon, a Caravel. The Caravel was the breakthrough shipbuilding technology from Portugal. It's also a drink that my wife and I have invented. It also builds on a Portuguese innovation, white port. If you're not familiar with white port, it is a standard feature of every Portuguese gathering in the summertime over ice. We've kind of spiced it up and diluted it down with a little bit of sparkling orangeade, and we find on a Friday evening, this tells us that the work week is over, that it's time to put aside those cares and just savor a little time together. We hope you find time to do something similar. Thanks for tuning in to Market Insights. If you found it helpful, you can subscribe below, or if you'd like to see our other publications, you can tune in to our website, caravelconcepts.com, where we will be posting the recipe for a Caravel. Thanks so much.